Some stories are so shocking, they sound like the stuff of fiction. But what if I told you that some of the most outrageous conspiracy theories in history turned out to be true?
Down the rabbit hole.
These aren't mere myths. They're cases where the line between truth and fiction blurred, revealing secrets that powerful institutions tried to hide. In today's video, we're uncovering 4 conspiracy theories that were once dismissed as absurd until the truth was exposed. Before we get started, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. Operation Northwoods. In the early 1960s, a shocking plan unfolded behind closed doors in Washington, D.C. Operation Northwoods was not a mere rumor. It was a serious proposal by U.S. military officials to stage false flag attacks that would justify an invasion of Cuba. As the Cold War intensified, the fear of communism spreading in Latin America drove U.S. leaders to desperate measures. The Joint Chiefs of Staff believed that they needed a compelling reason to take military action against Fidel Castro's regime. Operation Northwoods was the answer, a calculated scheme filled with treachery. Drafted in March 1962, this top-secret plan included proposals to orchestrate various acts of sabotage and violence, all designed to make it appear as if Cuba was the aggressor. These weren't just idle ideas. They were detailed, methodical strategies to manipulate public perception. Imagine the audacity of suggesting that the U.S. government would carry out acts of terror against its own citizens and blame them on an enemy. Among the chilling suggestions were plans to hijack planes, conduct bombings, and even sink boats filled with Cuban refugees, all in the name of national security. One of the most disturbing proposals involved hijacking commercial flights. Under the guise of Cuban operatives, agents would take control of aircraft and divert them to Cuba. This would create an international incident that could be exploited to rally public support for military action. These hijackings wouldn't just endanger passengers, they would serve as a direct catalyst for war. The military believed that the American public, horrified by such acts, would demand a retaliation against Castro. The strategy was cold, calculated, and utterly devoid of morality. But the madness didn't stop there. Operation Northwoods outlined plans to bomb U.S. military bases and conduct covert attacks that would appear to be carried out by Cuban forces. The scheme included staging a terrorist attack on American soil with the intention of framing Castro as the aggressor. When the Joint Chiefs presented this plan to President John F. Kennedy, they anticipated approval for a swift military response. But Kennedy was horrified. He understood the implications of such deceit and rejected the proposal outright, marking a critical moment in American history. Kennedy's refusal to engage in such treachery highlighted his commitment to moral governance. He understood that manipulating the public through lies would only lead to greater chaos and destruction. It was a stark contrast to the prevailing militaristic attitudes of his advisors. In the years that followed, Operation Northwoods was declassified, revealing the shocking truth behind this conspiracy. The American public grappled with the realization that their leaders had seriously considered such monstrous acts. It forced a reckoning with the ethical boundaries of government action. After the shocking revelations of Operation Northwoods, let's get into another covert operation that exposed the darker side of government experimentation. MKUltra, the shocking truth. Deep within the shadows of Cold War America, a chilling experiment unfolded, Project MKUltra. This secret program, sanctioned by the CIA, sought to unlock the mysteries of the human mind through manipulative and often horrifying techniques. Launched in the early 1950s, MKUltra aimed to develop mind control strategies that could be utilized against perceived threats, particularly in the context of espionage. But what began as an ambitious quest for power soon spiraled into a nightmare of human experimentation without consent. The program explored a myriad of mind-altering substances, including LSD, hypnosis, and various psychological manipulation techniques. The CIA believed that by controlling the human psyche, they could create the perfect spies, agents whose memories could be wiped clean and who would obey commands without question. One of the most notorious components of MKUltra was the administration of LSD to unsuspecting subjects. Some were homeless individuals or unwitting volunteers in bars, lured in with the promise of free drinks. They were subjected to intense doses of the hallucinogen, pushing the boundaries of their sanity and leaving many traumatized. As the program expanded, so did its methods. Agents employed techniques such as sensory deprivation, electric shock, and sexual abuse, all in the name of advancing psychological warfare. The results were harrowing, leading to severe psychological damage for many participants. The CIA operated MKUltra with a cloak of secrecy, but whispers of the program began to emerge. As the 1970s approached, investigative journalists and activists started peeling back the layers of deception, unveiling a dark chapter in American history. In 1975, the Church Committee hearings brought the horrors of MKUltra into the public eye. Senate hearings revealed chilling testimonies from former CIA operatives and victims of the program. It became evident that the agency had crossed ethical lines that would leave scars on the American psyche. Victims of MKUltra often reported debilitating psychological effects, including severe anxiety, depression, and dissociative disorders. Many struggled to regain a sense of normalcy after being pawns in the CIA's grand experiment. Families were shattered, lives destroyed, and the scars of manipulation ran deep. One survivor, a former subject of MKUltra, described feeling like a lab rat. "They played with my mind, and I didn't even know it was happening," they said, reflecting on the harrowing experiences that left them questioning reality. The Tuskegee Syphilis Study, a medical deception. In the heart of Alabama, a sinister medical experiment unfolded, one that would go down in history as a dark chapter of deception and betrayal. The Tuskegee Syphilis Study began in 1932, shrouded in lies, and it exploited the vulnerability of African American men under the guise of healthcare. Funded by the U.S. Public Health Service, the study aimed to observe the natural progression of untreated syphilis in impoverished black men. What started as an attempt to study a disease turned into an egregious violation of human rights, deceit woven into every aspect of the research. The men involved were told they were receiving free medical care for bad blood, a term used to describe a range of ailments, including syphilis, anemia, and fatigue. They were promised treatment, but the truth was far more sinister. They were mere subjects in a horrific experiment, manipulated and misled. Over the next 40 years, researchers meticulously documented the effects of syphilis on these men without ever providing them the treatment they desperately needed. Even when penicillin became the standard treatment for syphilis in the 1940s, the men were denied access. The study continued, driven by an insatiable desire for data, ignoring the pleas of those it harmed. As civil rights movements gained momentum in the 1960s, the truth about the Tuskegee Syphilis Study began to emerge. Whispers of deception spread, igniting outrage among the African American community and beyond. Activists demanded justice for the countless lives impacted by this inhumane experiment. In 1972, a whistleblower exposed the study, leading to a public outcry that would forever change the landscape of medical ethics. Dr. Peter Buxton, a former public health service employee, bravely stepped forward, revealing the truth behind the deceptive facade of the Tuskegee study. His revelations sparked outrage, and the story quickly gained national attention. Congressional hearings followed, where survivors recounted their harrowing experiences. They spoke of lives ruined, families devastated, and the betrayal they felt by a government that was supposed to protect them. The world was forced to confront the chilling reality of systemic racism and medical ethics gone awry. As a result of the scandal, the U.S. government established the National Commission for the Protection of Human Subjects of Biomedical and Behavioral Research. New regulations were created to ensure informed consent and protect vulnerable populations from exploitation. Yet, for many, the damage was done. Trust in the medical system was shattered. From medical malpractice, we now turn our gaze to a scandal that rocked the political landscape of the 1980s. The Iran-Contra Affair, scandal in the shadows. In the turbulent landscape of the 1980s, a scandal brewed in the shadows, intertwining politics, covert operations, and betrayal. The Iran-Contra Affair was more than just a political scandal. It was a complex web of deception that shook the foundations of American democracy. At the heart of this scandal was President Ronald Reagan's administration, a government grappling with international crises. In a bold and controversial move, they sought to fund the Contras, a rebel group in Nicaragua, fighting against the Sandinista government. But there was a catch. Congress had prohibited military aid to the Contras. The administration needed a workaround, and they found it in a most unlikely place: Iran. Despite a long-standing arms embargo, Reagan's team struck a secret deal to sell arms to Iran, a nation that was then embroiled in the Iran-Iraq War. This was a risky gambit, as Iran was viewed as a sworn enemy of the United States. In return for these arms, the Reagan administration hoped to gain influence over Iran and secure the release of American hostages held by Hezbollah in Lebanon. But the plot thickened. The profits from these arms sales would then be funneled to support the Contras. This clandestine operation was a blatant disregard for congressional authority and a violation of U.S. law. The truth unraveled in November 1986 when a Lebanese magazine exposed the arms for hostages deal. The fallout was immediate, sending shockwaves through Washington. Investigations were launched, and the American public was left questioning their government's integrity and the lengths to which it would go to achieve its goals. One of the key figures in this scandal was Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North, a National Security Council staff member who orchestrated the operation. North became a polarizing figure, hailed as a hero by some and vilified by others. During televised hearings, he famously declared, "I was only following orders," a statement that would haunt him. The fallout from the Iran-Contra Affair extended beyond American borders. It strained relations with allies, fueled anti-American sentiment, and influenced the geopolitical landscape of Central America. The scandal became a symbol of a government acting in secrecy, a narrative that continues to resonate today. We've uncovered chilling secrets from Operation Northwoods, the mind-bending experiments of MKUltra, the dark legacy of the Tuskegee Syphilis Study, and the shocking revelations of the Iran-Contra Affair. These are not just stories. They are crucial pieces of history that demand our attention and scrutiny. Join the mystery media community by subscribing now. Stay informed and be part of the conversation as we delve deeper into the hidden truths that shape our world.